Friends, I got lucky because a friend stopped and offered me a ride and then told me that, he was taking his kid to the spring. And I got kind of bold and said, "Can I come along?" And he said, "Yes." In Florida, if we said we were going to a spring, it wouldn't be something like this, right? It would be a spring coming out of the ground. Here, when they say a spring, they mean like a fountain where the grazing animals would have been. That it is a spring. They have lots. They just tapped into freshwater springs around here. There's quite a few different sources of water in Voditsa. But I was just asking him what this said, and it's something along the lines that this water was captured. The spring was created, built around the spring. And that says Voditsa across the bottom there, the people, Voditsa. But we can't tell what the year is on here. He was guessing like 60 or 70 years ago. But he said there used to be a big pine tree that grew up out of here. I think this water is very drinkable. This is one of the cleanest ones I've seen. I'm not going to bend over because I don't want to drop my phone in there. But if you come around to the back here, if you can try to imagine back in the day, I'm so glad to see this in such good condition. But back in the day, the water would have continued on back here, and these larger areas would have been where they could wash their rugs and scrub their rugs and that kind of thing. And I imagine they would have brought them here by horse cart. Not certain about that. There's still a bit of that going on around here. Have a good one. Hi there, how are you? So I'm just kind of thinking I'm going to do a little recap of my morning just to sort of share how different life is here. I took a little video this morning when I was walking to the shop. I got to watch the sunrise over the village. Just the shopkeeper was sitting out front and she was having her morning coffee. I'm like, wait, I'll just sit here and wait for you. So that was kind of nice. We're building more of a friendship. And then some time went by hanging out by the shop. I ended up sitting in the middle of a group of farmers trying to understand what they were talking about. And I'm extremely conspicuous, right? They just come to tolerate me. And the fact that the shopkeeper's husband, who is, one of the just most visible members of the community, because that shop is his, and he also does a lot of agriculture and that kind of thing. He sort of has a dominant presence in these groups and talking with everybody. And because he's tolerant of me there by him, and he's always friendly with me, it kind of gets me into the group, and I can just sit there like a fly on the wall. Works really great for me. Start picking up words like that. So I spent part of my morning like that. And then I got a message from my elderly neighbor that she had some eggs to give me and she wanted me to come visit. And I let her know I have just a little bit of a sore throat. I didn't want to come in, but I would love to have the eggs. So I picked those up, and some of them were dyed and some of them were fresh. Like, so sweet. And a little candy bar in there. She's always telling me how she loves me. She's really sweet. She follows me faithfully on social media and is always sending me little, what do we call them? Little gifts, just, little sweet things in Bulgarian. And then there's a little dog running up the road. It's my neighbor's dog, I know. And so I kind of used a little bit of bread with me to lead him back close to his own home. He was creating all kinds of excitement down the other end of the street, like getting all the dogs barking and running out of people's windows and peeking inside and stuff, just creating all kinds of mayhem. But he's a puppy, he'll learn. And then I washed a handload of laundry out in the sunshine. It was really nice and beautiful. And then I was doing my weekly evacuation of these little wispy spiders that are very common here. And good luck, you're not going to keep them all out, but I just go around and take them out every now and again. And I have like a little wet children's kind of a washcloth that covers my whole hand, and I just sort of clean them. I hate killing them. I really do. But they're just too fast to try to catch them and let them outside. I just have to go ahead and take them down, clean them all out, clean the spider webs out to keep some prevention of a total haunted house. And so I did that for a bit. And then I was inside and I heard the sounds of someone pulling up front, like a truck out front. So I looked out my front window, and my window was open, and the guy calls out to me, and he's talking really fast in Bulgarian, and I don't know what he's saying. I'm like, wait just a moment. I know how to say wait just a moment. I'll come out there. And he's still so excited. I keep going, okay, calm down. He's talking really fast. And I figure out that he's got this load of sand, but it's not mine. I think, well, maybe it's my next door neighbor that she's ordered some. There's a hardware store in Popovo that does these deliveries, but it's a window of time. Like if you don't really quite know when it's going to come, and the lady that it was going to hasn't done so much of that before, so she was kind of expecting it to come at the time arranged when it actually arrived 2 hours early. So he was looking for her in the village center and couldn't find her. And maybe somebody told him, like, up here at the top of the hill is where there's more expats. I don't know how he ended up in front of my house. But when he mentioned Russian, Ruski, then I knew that he was probably talking about my friend Liga, who's not Russian. She's from Latvia, but she uses the Russian language to help her communicate with the locals, so that you can create some confusion. It's like locals will assume that I'm English unless I clarify I'm an American. So I realized when he said something, Ruski, he's probably looking for Liga. So he'd been trying to call her on the phone, but she'd been out in her garden and missed the call. So I messaged her, and she scrambled, and I arranged for them to meet in Village Center. And he shook my hand really friendly at the end. He was like totally stressed and excited. And I had to keep going, okay, leka po leka. That's how they say, like, lightly, go lightly here, like, softly, softly. And so that was kind of a fun, wild adventure. And what else happened this morning? Well, it's like 9:30, so that's quite a bit of excitement in a few hours. We'll see what lies ahead. Hope you're having a great day. Oh, how do you love my map? That's the map of Bulgaria I bought for a couple dollars recently, and it has the iconic things that the should sees. And the whole country is like maybe the size of Georgia or so. So it's really a lot of neat things to see in what is for us as Americans a fairly small space. So have a great day. Hi, friends. I don't know what that sound is. What time is it? I hear So it's Saturday evening. Incredibly quiet around the village. I just went and had a little coffee at the shop. I don't usually have coffee in the evening, but I had a pretty big nap in the middle of the day, so I might do some things this evening. But I'm realizing how very fatigued I feel just in my brain right now. I've had several days of quite lightheartedness, but some heavy stuff happened overnight politically. I'm in America, and I'm managing a lot of different relationships in the village. It's such a very small place, and like helping the villagers get to know me, finding boundaries and balancing acts with some of the other expats, just a lot of different dynamics. So I'm tired. I'm really, really good. I feel very good physically. I don't usually walk up this way. You usually see this property right over here by this big walnut tree. From the other side, I know that particular gentleman would really like to sell his property. And I keep mentioning it because it's one of the few around here that I know of where there's someone actively living in it. And that makes a big difference if you're considering buying it, because then you know that it hasn't been neglected. I hope you're having a good evening. I hope everything's good in your world. Thank you for following along. Ciao, ciao. Good morning, friends. How are you? So, I'm going to be trying something. Clearly, I just rolled out of bed. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning or so. But I woke up early, so I'm going to go ahead and get up. I bought this really spiffy little thingamajig in Vietnam. Like, it looks like that. And then it has this little doobie-doo. And then it has this little doobie-doo. And, oh no, do I have to go outside in the rain? I'm looking for a coffee cup I want to use. I only keep out like just enough. Maybe that's so small. I think I'm going to deal with the rain and go grab the one I want. It's just sprinkling. There we go. That might have too wide of a mouth, actually. Here we go. There. So I'm making my first, or going to try to make my first cup of fresh ground coffee in my little individual coffee maker. And I'm not sure if I posted it yet, but I found my nose found it, a place in Popovo where they were grinding fresh, warm coffee. I even put it in my little coffee canister. Yeah, there it is. This smells so amazing. I can smell it all the way in the other room and have been for like the last 2 days. So I've just got to try this. It's like a little drip doobie. We'll see how it goes. If you were following along in Vietnam, I posted quite often about this experience because it was so much fun. So then I just had to bring one home to, home. I should have gotten 2, but I have one. We'll see how it goes. All right, turn you on. I've learned. I feel that it's heavy enough before I turn it on. Quite an adventure with turning on a coffee water kettle that wasn't. So I just dried out the inside of my little teacup, my coffee cup. Look how perfect that fits on top of there. And you put your fresh ground, you put your ground coffee in there, and you set this on the top, and it slowly drips its way down. And then when it's done, you set this thing. And while it's doing that, you put this little lid on the top to hold in the heat. And then when it gets done, you set that on top of that to keep it from making a mess. Boom. So this amount here cost me like $1.20. I didn't know how much to get. I just kind of showed her with my hands, about how much I wanted. And she measured something out. I don't know how much coffee to put in here. I'm thinking I'd rather it be not strong enough and too strong. So maybe I don't actually have an actual teaspoon. I only have it goes too little to be a true teaspoon. These are about a tablespoon. I'm not an experienced coffee preparer. I think I'm just going to put, I don't know. What do you think, peeps? I'll put that much in my first time. Let's see how it does. I wonder if you're supposed to put the water in before you put the coffee in. Okay, it's cool. Everything has its learning curves. When people have been doing things or watching things done their whole lives, you can look really stupid when you're doing it the first time, but you just can't let those sort of things embarrass you because we're all stupid somewhere. It's just the nature of things. Seems like it's pouring through too fast. I think I should have gotten the more thickly ground coffee. All the coffee went right into the cup. That wasn't the plan. Well, next time we will get more coarsely ground coffee. I told them Turkish, because it was a word that I knew, and they were trying to ask me what kind of a grind I wanted, and I really didn't know. Oh well, next time we'll just let that sit like that then. In Turkey, and I should have thought of that, right? The coffee is in the cup, and it is kind of grounds at the bottom of your cup. We'll just let that sit and steep like tea. I have this beautiful thing, very common in parts of the world, not so much where I'm from. I'm sure there's some people that use something like this, but I think that this is that you might be able to make Turkish coffee in this. Like maybe they just put the grounds right in the bottom of that and put the water on top of it and heat it. And you would think I would know after being there so long and watching so many things, but unless you're actually shown techniques, you don't always get to see the step-by-step of things. And I'm, kind of resistant to just going online and reading about everything. I like and I retain better personal experiences. Huh? I just added a couple little sugar lumps, which I think, I know I'm being silly, but I just think sugar lumps are just, I'm nostalgic about them. I think they're fun. They're available so easily here. So I'm going to add a little bit of milk to this. It's still nice and hot. I'll let it sit for about 5 minutes. The trick is going to be to not drink any of the grounds. They've settled to the bottom. And it looks like it's fairly, it might be too thin. We'll see if it has flavor. Here's what I bought at the store. I drank a little cup of this last night. It was quite tasty. I like a little bit of milk in my coffee. I'm just going to get a little bit of bread for my fresh loaf. I have a little chunk of fresh bread with my coffee. I think that'll be very nice.